Max Keiser will be with us 5 minutes into the next hour. MaxKeiser.com is his website. A lot of great information there. You can also watch his TV show. He's got it linked up there. We are taking your phone calls now. It's simple. Either the big central banks go or we go. They openly say they're setting up world government. They're going to run our lives, cut off our resources. It's a total nightmare. And I'm just here covering it, and I've got every major newspaper and government operation demonizing the hell out of me right now because we are effective, and they know that we know they're criminals. And coming up next hour, I'm going to get into all the news that I haven't even covered yet. It's just unspeakably insane. Let's go to Melissa in Mass. You're on with Max Keiser. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Max. Thank you so much for taking my call. I have two really quick things to know. I used to work at TD Bank. I worked there for 4 years. And one thing is that they utilize a website blocker that's intended to be used for employees so they don't look at sexually vulgar or sexually explicit websites. They block both InfoWars and Prison Planet and list it for militant behavior. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that you should know that. Second thing, this new overdraft fee revenue law that's going into effect July 1st, is there a bottom line there that we're not seeing? I know how important overdraft fees are to the big banks.
Yeah, this is a question that I'd throw in for Max. They're announcing that they may not insure your money markets. They're announcing they may keep your money for 7 days. They're openly talking about dollar devaluations. They're openly saying they may take people's pension funds and the government will then give you part of it back. Max Keiser.
Yeah, well, this is just every week we get more information that's pointing in the same direction, isn't it? The banks, they're out of money. They don't have any money. They want your money. They're setting it up now so that they can make it easy to freeze your account. You don't have access to your account or whatever. I mean, they're broke. They're sitting on hundreds and billions of losses that they have not yet disclosed. There's another second leg to the crisis in play right now. Then there's another huge gap down in real estate.
But they're saying they're going to use the crisis to have a constitution of the world where we pay our taxes to the banks.
They consider any deposit in any bank, they consider it to be their money. Let's just say that.
And they think Northcom, just like they're doing in Greece, will allow them to take everybody's money.
Right, and they're using this propaganda model that we're God and we need to fight the bad guys, and if you resist, you're a scapegoat. You know, talk about Citibank. Citibank last week, it was disclosed that this group, it's a new group called Fabulous. It serves the gay community. The Citigroup said, we don't like your material, we're going to freeze your account. So here they're scapegoating the gay community. When did we see that last? Oh, the 1930s in Nazi Germany.
And again, they pick a group they think's unpopular with most people to set the precedent. Like, oh, we're just going to secretly arrest Americans that are Muslims, and now they've got a bill for everybody.
It's classic scapegoating, 101, scapegoating 101.
Thank you, Melissa. Pastor in Ohio, you're on the air.
Let me just add something to that. You know, you remember in America we had the Jim Crow laws, which were discriminatory laws.
Yes.
You know, and some people could only use this. You know, if the coloreds-only bathroom, right? Coloreds-only sections in the restaurant. Sit at the back of the bus. Well, the same thing is being applied to interest rates. If you're Goldman, you get to borrow money at 1% and get a free rate of return at 17%. If you're everybody else, you have to borrow money at 17%, and the most you'll ever get on that is 1% on your money.
Well, that's like the EU.
It's a Jim Crow law using interest rates. They're discriminating against anyone who's not a Goldman Sachs employee. Get at the back of the bus and shut up.
Well, in the EU, the bureaucrats have a 17% income tax, and everybody else has a 50%. And it's the same thing expanding on every level. Now they have these Homeland Security no-fly lists. It'll be no work list, and they just magically put whoever they want on it with no evidence. I mean, it's just a... But don't worry, we'll arrest some college students that threw some cotton balls out on the ground. That means black people pick cotton. We'll arrest them for terrorism, but then we'll abort 52% of the black people. Max Keiser, stay there. Let's jam in a few calls in the next 5 minutes. Back in 70 seconds. All right, we're into the final hour. I'm not going to take any more calls until the very end of the show if I have time, because I got a lot of news and information that must be covered. Max Keiser's our guest. Let's go to Pastor in Ohio. Quickly, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, Alex, I've talked to you before, and I wanted to share something with you and Max. You know, one thing that I noticed, every time you guys come on. I mean, it's fantastic. You guys have the news right up front, and I want to thank you for that because you allow us to share that with other people, and I do that with my congregation.
Well, we're all in this together, buddy.
Yes, sir, we are. And I'll tell you what, one thing I noticed the different things that you're saying. Trust me, Alex, you are not alone. Even though you may not hear and know of the people that are standing with you, you guys that are getting the news out there to us because you guys have the resources and we don't.
Well, Pastor, let me be clear. I know the world's on fire with people waking up. Max knows that. I just can't believe people aren't even waking up faster because it's so outrageous. But I appreciate your call. Max, you see the huge awakening, don't you?
Well, I'm curious to see exactly how the huge awakening will happen, and what form it'll take. Because in the '60s we had a huge awakening, and it took the form of a musical revolution and a social revolution, and then basically society went back to sleep. Here's something very interesting. I see in Berkeley, California, the students now are protesting against these rise in rates, which of course is great that they're protesting that. But where were the students 2 years ago when they were all supporting the Iraq war invasion and they were all tattletaling on their professors who were against the Iraq war invasion? Remember that 2 or 3 years ago when professors said we're against all the money that was spent in Iraq, they don't have any money for education. Now they're protesting because they don't have money for education. Well, tough luck. You should have been against the Iraq war 2 or 3 years ago, and now you'd have money for education.
Let's talk to Petunia in Texas. Petunia, you're on the air with Max Keiser.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for taking the call. Just very quickly, I think that one of the things that we need to do is to bring a third party like the Constitution Party of Texas. We're trying to get ballot access right now, and it's not easy. The two big parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, have a little monopoly going on. And we need to
Well, the public better get out there and realize that we do need to take our states back against this takeover, and it needs to be done now. Do you have a question for Max Keiser?
Well,
you don't? I appreciate your call. I got to let you go, okay? I told you. These are calls for Max Keiser. You can call back another time on that. Mike in Louisiana, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Things. One, in all the polls, when it comes to 9/11, it seems like there's an overwhelming majority of the public on these polls that want a new investigation or otherwise don't believe the government.
Yeah, and the media says we're terrorists, the majority of America.
Here's my question. Why is there a candidate that is reading these polls and running on a 9/11 investigation platform?
All right, great question. Got to get that to Max Keiser. Max?
Well, apparently New Hampshire is going for it. New Hampshire is now going to do a full scale, and they put something on the ballot. They're going to do a non-binding look into this event, and so there are pockets. States are picking up the ball.
That's right. They've got now it's a majority of their towns signing on because in New Hampshire they have right to revolt laws where they can force it onto the ballot and at the state house if the towns want it.
Yeah. Now, why? Now, let's say if I'm in America, I would say, you know what? I think I'll move to New Hampshire. Let New Hampshire reap the benefit of wanting to pursue this. And move to New Hampshire, boost their economy, get a job in New Hampshire, make New Hampshire, the new California, because they're not afraid to look at stuff. Go to New Hampshire.
Well, in closing, Max, well said. I'm glad you brought that up because I mentioned it last week, but had hardly talked about it. I want to get some people on from New Hampshire that are leading this. That's why the system is demonizing 9/11 Truth 24/7 now. They're scared of something, and they know the majority of America's questioning the official story. Max, thank you for spending so much time with us today.
Anytime, Alex.
Good to have you here with us. MaxKeiser.com. Our websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I'll talk about New Hampshire when we come back after this quick break and a lot of other news. Stay with us.